So we are back after the short tea break to witness the last but not the least boardroom discussion for the day. It is pretty interesting to note debates on whether machine learning can train intelligent systems to crack jokes. But today, we look forward to an interesting debate on, is machine learning the answer to cybersecurity? And for this boardroom discussion that will tickle your little gray cells, we have with us our moderator, Rahul Shashi, founder and chief technology officer of the artificial intelligence-based information security company CloudSec, an Indian entrepreneur, security expert, white hat hacker, and a very popular speaker at Nalcon. We welcome you, sir. Our panelists for this discussion are Sumit Khokani, Chief Information Security Officer at Instas Pharmaceuticals Limited. He is responsible for corporate information security, risk assessment, incident response, internal audit and compliance activities, including ISO 27001, Indian IT Act and GDPR on a global scale. Next, we have with us Sitesh Behera, Head of Platform Infrastructure and Cybersecurity at Bang Bazaar. He has over 14 years of proven success in developing, managing, and advising global enterprise clients on technology, platforms, cyber strategy, and enterprise security architecture. Finally, we have with us Rui Basos, Chief Information Officer, Hydrocarbons, and Group Head, Reliance Internal Audit, Reliance Industries. He has a career of more than 21 years in financial and IT audit, advisory, and risk management roles, and as the Group Head of Corporate and IT Audit and Audit Operations while working at Shell, he also implemented continuous auditing and data analytics techniques to improve the efficiency and effectiveness of process controls testing. We welcome you all. Could we have a round of applause for everyone? Over to you, Rahul.
Hey guys, thanks a lot for the introduction, Angelina. So the idea, we just discussed this internally, and the idea is to make it much free-flowing, which means we will talk maybe for 15 minutes and then we'll open it for questions. That way, this is a community event, right? That's what Nalcon Spirit was all about. So we'll make sure you communicate to us, and then, if you can answer those questions, that way it'll be more fun. That's what, we think we'll do. So, obviously the topic of today's discussion is machine learning and artificial intelligence. I'll start with throwing a question at the panel about, what is their perspective of machine learning and artificial intelligence is. And, maybe a little bit of introduction would actually help us understand, because everyone uses this word, right? In artificial intelligence, machine learning, and if every startup, my own startup actually uses that particular thing everywhere. So it's very important to understand, have a bit of introduction about those, and then we'll go into questions. So, Sunit, so you want to start with your perspective on.
So I think, though you have asked me, but I want to pass it to the audience first.
Yes.
This is, I think we have been a very nice sessions earlier, the breach responses as well as the CII part of it. And I think we really want to, as Rahul mentioned, that we really want it to be more interactive and more knowledgeable session. So I think how many of the people sitting here knows about the differences between the AI and the ML? Except the alphabet difference, that's all. So I just wanted to know, anybody can talk just anything. We all know the full forms, obviously, say artificial intelligence and the machine learning.
I just know the one statement that AI cannot do this.
All right, there's one response. What else? All right, so any basic difference between the AI and the ML part of it? Anybody can just.
AI is more about the gathering and AI is more about the result.
Very nice. Nice thought.
You want to go ahead?
Yeah, AI.
Oh, nice Google answers. So, so good one. Anything else? Right, so good one. So the reason I asked, because I don't know the difference. So that was just to start with.
AI is the branch of ML. AI is branch.
Yeah, so
branch of ML, right?
Yeah.
ML comes at a higher level.
Yeah, so
All right.
yeah.
Machine learning is like the foundation of AI. Okay.
Yep.
Machine learning has two components: supervised and unsupervised learning. Those are the main models that you're looking at. What happens is once you get machine learning up to a certain level of maturity, you move it from telling you something to actually taking a decision. AI gets you to the point where it's taking decisions. Big difference is the decision making.
Yep.
Okay? That's the main difference between the two. Okay? Machine learning is just awareness and understanding. When you take it to the next level, which is you apply some logic or some rule set to take a decision or do some action, you're now into the domain of AI. Okay? So it goes all the way.
Machine learning does not take decision.
Generally, no, but as you can actually take it to the next level. Machine learning has its limitations. Okay, well, we can get into the topic at hand now.
I think
we're about to get into
started with the wrong question then, I
cybersecurity
guess.
versus a machine learning discussion.
Okay,
Machine
so,
learning has its own limitations. We'll get into it.
to make things very simple and in a layman's term, today's world, we have a lot of data, a lot of work to do, and anything which is repeatable and which has a predictable outcome, we teach the machine to do. So going back 30 years back, or maybe like 100 years back, when you have industrial revolution, what it did is basically human being was working and we created machines, and machines were able to do repeated work at a larger scale, and they didn't complain and they didn't had a sleep. They can work 24/7, right? And today's world, you imagine there is a SOC. So there is a huge amount of people, maybe 20 or 30 or maybe 100 people who are monitoring your logs, your graphs or something. Imagine there are certain patterns, and if I can teach the pattern to machine, I don't need to have a bigger SOC team. I need to look into the outcomes of the machine, what it is showing me as anomaly in a perspective. Similarly, machine learning is just repetitive work automation. However, if the machine can take a decision whether, say, this is an anomaly or not, that is AI.
Right. So I think let me simplify it. AI is more focused on the success part of it, while machine learning is more focused on the accuracy part of it. Both are two sides of a coin. You cannot exactly extensions. You can't really separate them if you really need a right successful result. So I think I'm going to read out something that I've written 3 lines. Machine learning is about finding the patterns in the data so that the outcome is more predictive. That is something what it is all about.
Yeah, so in a way, right? Everyone has said one thing, if you have a large amount of data, and machine learning's job is to tell you out of that large amount of data, which is that data you should be looking at. For example, you have 100 network connections in your SOC. And out of those 100, if you want to figure out which one is malicious, yes, you can use machine learning. Now, if you go a step above, you say, I just don't need to predict which is threat and which is not a threat. I need to predict which has a correlation with something else and some historical data, and present you with something a little more valuable, a decision-making process. That will go into AI. So that's pretty much in the cybersecurity world how it would be. And I think it's good to start. That now we have a great introduction on machine learning. So, so one of the perspectives we're trying to cover here is from a vendor who is building a software in machine learning and AI, and to industry leaders like Indus Pharma and Reliance, who is adopting cybersecurity solutions powered by machine learning. So, what is your decision-making process? What is the evaluation criteria you guys follow when a vendor comes and pitches you with machine learning solutions? How do you decide which one to go for and which one not to go for? Because every vendor has this right now, right? So how do you make that decision?
So the first question is, to me, there's two questions you ask. Yeah. First, principles. Okay, is this a solution looking for a problem, or is this a problem I'm looking for a solution for?
I think good question to the question, yeah.
I see too many solutions looking for problems, okay? The second thing is to understand what technology actually does. Okay, machine learning, AI, any technology is actually an enabler to get something done. And all technology actually comes down to 3 things. Technologies can amplify what you know or what you can learn. Okay, they amplify what you can execute or do, tasks, actions, and they can amplify what you can communicate or share. Okay? All technology touches on one of these three domains. Now you take machine learning. Machine learning helps you learn, understand, gain knowledge in a massive form by being able to process all the data, all that insights, information, all based on data to gain insights. So you're going from data, which is an input, to insights. What's the insights? It's the supervised or unsupervised learning that says, okay, based on the patterns I've discovered in this data, these are the natural relationships that I'm finding in the data. That's insight. That says, listen, if you get this type of data, this is an indicator of something else, a predictor or an outcome. Okay? Now, machine learning gets you to that point. So what I try to do is to understand, what does the solution actually do? So what is it that you're selling me? Okay? Okay. The second part of the problem is when I look at the solution, I say, okay, fine. Most of these machine learning solutions have natural limitations. And I can talk to you what those limitations are. The first one is limitations on inputs, as in garbage in, garbage out. Okay? And all machine learning solutions have this problem. Okay? So unless you have good data, you won't get good results.
So does that mean the quality of data matters a lot,
Of course it does.
passing to the algorithm, right?
Of course it does, because it influences how the machine learning algorithms develop. But remember, a machine learning algorithm is not static, it learns, it evolves over time. The second one is what is called the constraints, or the boundary conditions. So we use a bunch of algorithms in many areas around machine learning. Whether it's an optimization model, whether it's prediction model, whether it's sentiment analysis. They all have boundary constraints. These are assumptions which you are assuming into that model. Because what you're using the model to reflect the real world. Something that's happening in the real world is having to be modeled in that machine learning algorithm. Because that's what you're looking at. You're looking at, does this algorithm correctly reflect the real world? Okay? Second part of the problem you find is those assumptions usually are a problem. As in, they don't really reflect the assumptions you have in the real world. Second issue around the vendor solution you're looking at. The third one is actually, okay, so what is the output of this thing? What does the software actually do for me? Okay? Is the output something that is actionable? And this to me is the big difference when you start to switch from machine learning into AI. Okay? Most machine learning solutions give you an outcome which requires a human interpretation. So someone has to make a judgment on what that machine learning model is doing. Because very few models can truly reflect and model the real world. So the human brain is still fundamentally important to do a sanity check on whether that outcome is actually reasonable, realistic, okay? Which goes to the question, does machine learning replace cybersecurity? No, because you still need the human context of looking at that outcome versus the reality. You can train machine learning models and they take a very long time to train and require huge amounts of data to actually become perfected, okay? So machine learning models will evolve. I mean, all of us many of the large corporates are building and evolving those machine learning models today. Yeah. But it'll always take us 2, 3, 4 years of information to able to get us the model that's correct, okay? That is why it takes us a long time to sort out false positives. You guys understand the concept of false positives. Machine learning has got false positives, which is why you train it. This is called supervised learning. You train the model. This is right, this is wrong. That training of the model is the problem, okay?
I just want to add to it also. Like whatever we are talking today are mostly supervised modes. But the real AI I see is more into unsupervised mode. That's where the intelligence of the machine comes into picture. It can take its own decision, right? Supervised mode is something like you can say that it's your experience. So I always give an analogy like, you know, what is a bad guy and what is a good guy? A bad guy is mostly a person who has experienced bad things in his life. He has learned the bad things, how to execute something in a bad way. A good guy has seen a brighter side, maybe like, you know, we say this as we are categorizing this activity to be a good or bad, right? This is called tagging, this is supervised. Means this is our experience, and depending on this experience, whenever there is a situation which comes, this 15, 20 or maybe 30, 40 years of experience helps you to take a decision. Now, nobody knows whether this decision is right or wrong. For me, my perception, this is right because these are tagged as right things to do. But there is nothing called right or wrong. So, even if you tag your data, even if you do a supervised learning, you still have not achieved 100% efficiency. Even if you tell that this scenario is good and this scenario is bad, and you have millions of scenarios like that, we can achieve 99% efficiency. We cannot achieve 100%.
Yeah, Sudesh, that's where I disagree with you in a way. I mean, I agree also, I disagree also. Remember the example I was talking about? See, with both Rui and Sudesh said is one thing. You need a large amount of data to train and get these systems to be smarter. Second is the data needs to be quality. The data needs to be tracked properly to get reliable results.
Very important.
Very important. So, I mean, to add to that particular thing, right? I mean, there's this meme going on over the internet which says, if 4 machine learning models are asked to jump into a well, and 4 human babies are asked to jump into a well, the machine learning models will jump into the well because that's what the data said, and the humans won't jump into the well because, they have more logic. But this is the argument I had, but that's not how it is. How many of you have babies, or have seen a baby? Okay, seen a baby. so.
Very, very nice question.
All right, or maybe thinking of having babies, but. So if you so if you've seen the babies, right? The babies, when they cry, you lift them up a little bit and the babies will stop crying. You lift them up and you start moving around, the babies will completely stop crying. That's how you stop babies crying. You know how the scientists, and why would they do that? When you lift up and start walking, why do babies stop crying? The way scientists figured this out is they took a mouse and took couple of baby mouses, they put them in a basket. And then they created a panicky situation. They introduced a cat. So what the mother mouse cat does is it picks up the baby mouse and tries to run out of that basket. Now, the moment the baby mouse are picked up from the basket, the mouses will stop wiggling. Because their natural instincts, their survival instincts tells that we are in a panic situation. Me and my mom is in a panic situation. If I don't stop wiggling, I will die. In the process of evolution, hundreds of mice died to get that natural survival instinct into that mouse, which said that, when you are picked up, stop crying. And that's the same process babies does as well. That means certain things which do are part of our DNA, are part of our evolution process. That is part of the data which we had in the past. So I think over a period of time, right, these data is going to keep accumulating and we might be able to reach, machines would be able to reach where humans are. Again, not in the short time. It's going to take time, but it's going to be there.
But there's another thing that makes us distinct. So we need to understand the distinction between machines and humans. As humans, we've got a set of qualities which machines will never have. That's the concept of empathy and ethics. You cannot teach a machine ethics. Okay? You cannot teach a machine empathy. Now, both empathy and ethics come from human qualities. It comes from the life experience we have, how we've seen people interact. Okay, it is very difficult to codify that. Okay, we have in our subconscious, okay, in our human biology, we have a subconscious which is actually processing and sensing data. Okay, we call it gut instinct. Okay, which often triggers the way we interact. We are not perfectly rational people, because if we did, we'd be pure machines. Because that's pure algebraic rationality. We don't operate like that. We actually bring other sets of information about the world around us into how we process information. Emotion, subconscious, okay? And then the value system, ethical value system, comes into play when we make decisions. Some decisions have more or less of that, depending on what it is. Okay. Now that is where the problem is going to be. Even with artificial intelligence, it is very difficult to get it to that point. Which is why the point I was making is, yes, machine learning will be an enabler. which is complementary to the human qualities we have, but they are not a substitute. The challenge we're going to have is the following. It's like me giving you a Mini to drive, okay? You need a set of skills to drive that Mini. But tomorrow, okay, I give you a Formula One car. Brand new set of skills you need to have to actually be able to drive it properly. Same problem with machine learning and AI. The issue is not whether it will replace or not. It will actually force us to acquire additional skills and competencies to be able to use them properly as enablers. That's the challenge of machine learning and AI for any profession, cybersecurity or otherwise. Okay? That's the real challenge we face.
So machine learning is maths. It's not magic.
It's not magic, it's maths. Exactly.
This adds to another question which I want to throw. Do you think regulating an AI, which is the topic of discussion all over, we should regulate the research in AI and machine learning. Do you think it's a smart approach, or what do you think? How do you think we should go ahead with it?
Oh, I think definitely not an easy question. I think stop the recording first. Then I think I can have liberty to talk.
Start the recording?
So, yeah, I think it's on.
Yeah.
All right. So, regulating ML, very tough call. I don't think it should be. I don't think it will be. Probably considering the data protection, the draft bill of the personal identifiable information, which is on its way in India, and obviously the legislation already out for the GDPR part of it, yeah, which is probably focusing on the PII and the sensitive data, yeah, itself. So I don't think that machine learning should be regularized. Yeah, that's my opinion.
And what do you think, Samir, about the same?
Okay, I think in the early stages where you are actually developing, evolving, and trying to make sense of what is AI, how I can achieve things, or trying to simulate the human brain. I think we should not have regulatory, but yes, there's always two sides of a coin, I believe. So anything, whatever we are building should be regulated also. AI is not only used in cybersecurity, but also used in attacking the systems. So you have bots which can simulate entirely the human behavior. You go to a website and you hover your mouse, you start typing something, how a human being behaves on a website. And there are very advanced bot protection engines where you will say that, okay, I get so many queries per second, or you do your bot management. Now, you particularly do not want to go and block a human user. That's a business loss. So now there are a lot of AI-enabled bots available in the dark market which simulate the entire human behavior. And bot managers have failed.
Oh, by the way, many of them are humans actually. They outsource this, the captcha, right? Most of the captcha breaking solutions are outsourced to countries like, I don't know which all countries, but outsourced to other countries. So people will be solving those captchas and giving it back to you. So many services are there on the dark web. Yeah.
Let me turn that one around. AI, ML is a technology. All technologies are neutral. They're neither good nor bad. It's only humans that make value judgments as to whether things are good or bad. I'll take two examples. We have guns. It can be used for good, can be used for bad. We have nuclear energy, can be used for good, can be used for bad. What makes it good or bad is not the technology. It's how we as humans actually use it. So the question is, what are you regulating? The technology or the use of the technology? That's the first big concept that you have to be clear in your mind.
Yeah, no, actually, that's a great point, actually.
That's actually the key.
Yeah.
Historically, all regulation is playing catch up with technology. Never been ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually.
The problem you've got, and this will always be the challenge, is ultimately the only thing we will be able to do, okay? Unfortunately, this is going to come back to human values and behaviors, okay? It's our own morality that defines how we use the technology for good or bad.
Yeah.
Okay. Extremely difficult to regulate morality.
Absolutely.
Very, very difficult.
Yeah.
Okay. However, we're going to have to make some very tough calls, probably within the next 10, 15 years about AI. Okay. Because the speed in which it is evolving, if it is misapplied, can have catastrophic issues, just like nuclear fission. Okay? I don't think you're going to crack this problem through regulation.
Absolutely.
Okay. And if you look at the debates going on right now around AI, a lot of people are starting to talk about, listen, we need to have a different way of thinking about how we use AI going forward so that the uses of AI are applied in the right places. Okay, I can use the same argument going on with genetics, right? Genetics is a technology. Human cloning has all sorts of problems that come with human cloning. We don't clone humans for a reason, right? Same thing with AI. Yeah. We will have to make very similar calls with AI that we're doing with human cloning today, because there are ethical and moral issues that will have to be considered as we go through. Okay, that's the challenge you got ahead.
Yeah. No, I mean, just to summarize, I mean, everyone in the panel agreed that it should not be regulated. What should be regulated is the use, not the technology. And I completely agree with all of them because, see, this is a budding field, right? This is a field where constantly research and development is happening. And we haven't reached anywhere yet. And when research is ongoing, when you start regulating things, right? It's like how we regulated marijuana. It was a cure for a lot of things, but then we regulated it and then nothing is happening there. Same way, it'll go to, we would not progress at all. And you have to look at the room which you sit in right now. The speakers, the microphones, the lights, the lamps, all of them are 20-year-old technology. It has been advanced a bit. In the last 20 years, I mean, in the past 20 years, how you seen it? That is exactly the same way these are. But look at the phones you have. Look at the technology advancements, which is primarily going on in machine learning and AI in that. Now we don't need hardware changes to take a smarter picture. We can do it by leveraging machine learning. And that's the reason the world is investing a huge amount of money in machine learning researchers. That means this is a field which is going to advance because there is money right now to do a lot of research and it will advance. And what is going to happen eventually in the next, 5, 6, 7 years is these light bulbs are going to have some amount of AI or machine learning in it. It might start learning from your facial expressions on what mood you are to what song it should play back to you. Again, based on your stress level or the time level, etc., etc. That's the only advancements these technologies around us can make, and regulating at this point of time would not be a great idea at all. So yeah, so I'm happy that we all agreed on that.
So I think, Rahul, I know you are a moderator, but I want to take the privilege and ask one more question here, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Right. So I just wanted to throw the questions to the audience as well. That what are the applications of machine learning in the world of cybersecurity, and what are the low-hanging fruits can be leveraged probably?
Oh yeah. So by the way, you guys want to answer some because you would have adopted some level of machine learning in your offices, right? Yeah. So there's
somebody pass mic.
Yeah, I can come down. I don't mind.
This is Sandeep Oberoi from TCS. I head their cybersecurity services delivery. There are 3 distinct areas where we view the play of AI, machine learning, and cybersecurity. First is the use to defend that you've talked about. There are some very good anti-malware products available and around for quite a while that are very effective in malware detection. No human being tries to write signatures and all that, right? In a couple of years, no human being will try to write SIM rules either. The second thing is the use of AI to carry out attacks at scale that you haven't seen before.
That is correct.
Very personalized phishing attacks, which are not possible to scale using human manpower. And the third thing is the security of the AI systems themselves.
Absolutely.
By systematic poisoning of the training data, those consequences. I also wanted to add that there are many standardization efforts. So the wish for no regulation, I think, is not going to happen. There is a whole ISO subcommittee newly formed just about 7-8 months ago on the topic of AI. There are a number of British standards dealing with AI and the ethics of development of AI systems. So regulation is going to happen. and you're not going to be able to wish it away.
So let me add to what you were saying there. Look at the nuclear arms race. Yeah? Ultimately, everyone had to develop AI to maintain the balance of power. Detente. Okay? So even if you regulate, you actually have a fundamental problem, which is if you don't develop your capability, you actually are defensively in a worse position than someone who does. And this is where we're going to have, unless you have in the current world order, this will be an issue in terms of it's a form of power which actually will have to get resolved.
Oh, to add to some great points you raised, to add to what you said, one of the future of cybersecurity, right, and from an attacker perspective, is a concept called adversarial learning. What it does is these machine learning models, right, they are based on certain data, and their job is to make certain predictions. Now you reverse engineer the models and figure out certain bugs. I wouldn't say bugs, actually, certain flaws in the models, and you can actually fool these machine learning models. For example, if a machine learning model is predicting is looking at my face and doing a simple face match, all right, you can actually do an adversarial learning on that model and maybe use some other picture, maybe even a picture of a potato, to trick that thing into thinking it's my face. So that's one of the future. I'm pretty sure 6-7 years down the line, all the SQL injection and all the excessive things will be outdated, and adversarial learning would be one of the key evolving cybersecurity issues.
So I think, are we trying to say here that the large scale of data, probably in the cloud, probably in the endpoints, wherever they reside, are those the instances basically applicable to have the machine learning algorithm and to get the better output in that sense? To have more visibility, more accuracy of the desired output?
You cannot have accurate models without data.
That's true, yeah.
So you have to accumulate data. This is why the data lake conversation.
Correct.
Without that, there's no accuracy in the model.
Yep.
That's the one problem. So most organizations, this whole digital transformation, what you're seeing is a push to aggregate data, build the intelligence to actually enable all sorts of business processes.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's the way the technology works.
Yeah.
Okay. The application and use cases of machine learning and AI go beyond far more just the defensive and the attack and defense mindset when it comes to security. There's a series of problems we have today. Let's look at basic problems around passwords, for example. Multi-factor authentication with machine learning behind it actually changes and gets rid of the entire need for passwords. Yeah. That's one use case, for example.
That's true. Yeah.
Let's take the problem. How many organizations has actually managed to get data classification right? Please put up your hands.
What is the question?
How many organizations have actually managed to get data classification right in the organization? I'd like to see your hands in the air.
No, we just started, but we have not completed.
All right,
Completed.
So answer is none.
The answer is none. Why? Because data classification is a pain.
And
all organizations struggle with it. Guess what? Brilliant use case for machine learning.
Exactly.
Security coming into play, AI and machine learning is good.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So there are some very positive use cases that actually enable security with machine learning and AI. Okay, to actually get and improve the security posture that you have.
So data classification would add the quality of data to the algorithm to get it going on.
Contradiction between among the entire community. So on the other room, we are talking about the DPOs, the data protection and all those stuff, right? The regularization. On this other room, next to that room, we are talking about do not regularize, right? I've not recorded, but that's the statement which has come out from you. So how do we address such kind of thing? When we talk about data protection, GDPR and all those stuff, but at the same time, I'm not saying that we are trying to be extra greedy to get the best outcome or output, but still, I agree, strongly agree with him that, that's the essence. Regularization is the essential thing. Otherwise, we are going to bleed.
Okay, but hold on. Let's look at, so I was in that session as well. Right? So I've seen on both sides of this conversation. All right. So let's understand where data privacy is coming from. All right.
I just want to make one point before that. So we are talking about AI and ML, but before that, you have data pre-processing, right? So preparing data for AI and ML. And what we are feeding to AI and ML engine is an experience. It is not personal.
It is not AI?
No. No. That is mandatory input for AI and ML. I'll tell you. The thing here is we are giving a scenario. If scenario A, B, and C happens, then the outcome is D. That doesn't relate to a person called Sitesh, right? So it's a human. It's
Is he a male or female?
it's a male or female is not a PI, right? A PAN number, Aadhaar number is a PI.
Yes, yes.
Right? So we need to categorize and we need to sanitize the data before we feed to the system.
You can depersonalize the data before it becomes PII. That's it. This is the main point. But you're missing the point. Still not there. Why do we have data privacy? Because data privacy comes from a fundamental human right, the right to freedom. Most constitutions, if you as a country have signed up to the UN Charter of Human Rights, you'll see the right to freedom. Right, is actually there. Freedom of life. Data privacy comes up as one of those freedoms. For you to have freedom of life, you need to have freedom of privacy, to be able to operate without surveillance. Okay. Now, if you look at what GDPR is doing, and all previous versions of GDPR, they allow for the fact that you actually capture PII data, provided it is consensual, with agreement. Okay. What it is doing is actually regulating the usage of it.
Absolutely.
It goes back again to the usage of the data. Whether that's sitting in GDPR or HIPAA or whatever regulation you've got, it's the usage that's been regulated. On top of it, it's going one step further. Okay? Because we're all smart, and so if you understand how the legal systems work, is we've tried to go around the usage of that through contracts. So basically, every time you sign those terms and conditions, you're signing away your rights. All right? So Europe woke up to this problem ages ago. America is still waking up to this problem. It says, no. Even if you sign away your rights in a contract, we will still protect them because we believe it's a fundamental human right that is protected by our constitutional rights. So what happens there is basically saying it is preventing legal entities from using and abusing data that infringes on your right to privacy. That's the essence of GDPR and DPA, and it's been like that for a very long time.
Absolutely.
Right. So usage is the issue, not the processing.
Exactly.
Understand the difference.
So there's one more advancement in machine learning which is coming. You might want to take it down. It's called transfer learning. This is a solution. Transfer learning is a solution which is coming up primarily to solve this problem. See, Sumit is right. You don't need PI data to be sent to a machine learning systems, but certain systems require a PI data as well, because if they want to calculate Rahul Shashi clicked how many Diwali posts, they would need my second name actually, and how many people from a particular state actually was doing something else. So they need a PI information. So what they're doing is, what transfer learning does is, they don't transfer the PI information to the machine learning training systems. Rather, they do the training on the local mobile phone or the local computer or on your local browser. And the model only goes back to the servers, not your data. So this is called transfer learning, and it's an interesting new thing which is coming.
Are you referring to the metadata?
Exactly.
The contextual data.
Exactly, and it happens on your individual machines, not going back.
All right. More counter that. Okay. In the farming industry, particularly, you've got this problem. Okay, which is they do clinical trials. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yep. Concept of clinical trials has been in existence for at least the last 30 years.
Absolutely.
All right. What we do is in clinical trials, we separate the identity from the data. Now, why do you want to use the data? And why do you want to use machine learning in clinical trials? Because the use of that data gives a beneficial outcome to mankind. As you do those trials, I'll give you an example. This is how we discover new drugs. We're starting to see the correlation between genetics and disease.
Exactly.
Now, you need to understand that correlation, and genetics is unique to you. Okay? Your DNA profile is you. Okay? It's your identity. No one else has got that profile. But if you can operate machine learning on that, to actually build models that predict disease, there's huge benefit for humanity. What you have to do is understand how you use it in a way that does not bring the downsides of, or at least the negative aspects of that, by simply protecting identity. This is why you depersonalize information in clinical trials.
Yeah.
Right? So it's not that you don't do it, you just depersonalize it. Okay?
I mean, just to add to that, I'll tell you the future, right? I mean, what is going to happen is more companies are going to come up who's going to do clinical trials. You'll go to the clinics, but you'll start getting the results on your mobile phone. And with the GDPR regulations because they can't now take out the data back to the server, what they do is they do a transfer learning on your application, now start feeding that data back to the server. So you can, and in the next 5-6 years, you can see more advancements in those sort of applications around you.
And the evolutions are happening something like this. Like, you had an application, previously we had a client server technology, and then we went to serverless technology. And now your mobile phones, your handheld devices will be doing the 90% of the work. Data only goes to the so-called data centers where we build models and again send back to your application or to your device. So basically our smartphones, if you remember, or if you really look, are having 8 cores. And even a server in a data center may not have 8 cores. So this is how the technology is coming. And as we clients, we can afford a smartphone with 8 cores. We are actually giving and processing and taking the heavy lift of the entire application lifecycle. So from the server to client, the infrastructure, client was previously the lightest one and the server was doing the heavy lifting. But now the scenario is changing. Most of the work is done at the client side, and it goes back to the data center as an aggregator, and it has to do more data processing. So, it is not logical, it is more on statistical data analysis.
Question in the back.
Thank you, guys. I'll just give a counter argument here based on data analysis, based on ML that we are doing right now. A lot of companies are slowly moving towards cloud providers, right? They are moving to AWS, GCP, etc., whatever is available. We are talking about here that it is good to have the data ingested, to have a learner module running on top of it. That will be beneficial in all ways. But are we equally comfortable when these these cloud providers are crunching the numbers of the existing organizations moving there? Is that something that is also desirable and goes with the same solution and the answer that we are talking about here?
So each organization is different. In our case, no. There are a series of problems that come with that. So data localization is the debate going on right now.
Absolutely. Big one.
So that's one problem. That's not the only problem.
So my question then here is, how are we so different from the customers that we are catering to and we being customers to the cloud providers then? Wouldn't it be the same thing when we are using the data to come out for...
Unfortunately, I've seen the dark side of that conversation. It's like this. Ultimately, it's a question of who do you hold accountable, right? So increasingly, you have a difference in regulation across the globe, okay? What is permitted in one part of the world is not permitted in another part of the world. I'll give you a real example. GDPR vis-a-vis safe harbor. Why did safe harbor go out the window? Because when safe harbor was taken to Supreme Court in Europe, and they actually compared US practices with regards to protection of data privacy, the European Supreme Court actually said, US standards on data privacy do not meet the principles of safe harbor, which we have agreed, okay? Secondly, countries are always changing politicians, right? That's life, right? So you may have agreed something in good faith at one point in time, but you cannot predict the future, okay? Thirdly, data, once you let it go, doesn't come back. That's life, right? So if you have a responsibility and an accountability to protect data, you need to be clear that you understand where that data is going and how you can protect in all locations, right? There's a very interesting debate coming up, and it's already happening in Europe, called the right to be forgotten. Good luck with that one. Most companies don't know what data they've got. So how can they forget you?
More lawsuits.
And one continent is actually imposing right to forget and working so much on data security. Another continent, you see countries who really track people face by face. And we talk about our own rights. You go out, every video camera is being watched. And you have AI, ML based face recognition technologies. Recently, with a crowd of 50,000, they actually identified and captured a guy who is being a defaulter in loan. Yeah.
Who can tell me why we have data localization laws? Any views? Why is that becoming an issue? Why is that becoming important? Sorry?
For law enforcement agencies to.
For law enforcement, yes, that's one.
That's one, yeah.
Economic differentiation. Okay? Ability to tax. Do you understand how this is all becoming an issue? There's one more.
Two.
Data privacy itself. Who knows? Okay, I'm assuming you guys have some idea of the laws in data privacy. Homeland Security Act. Who understands how that act actually works? Okay. Under Homeland Security Act, the US government can access any data that you've processed with Microsoft, Google, any of the tech companies. And they can give a court order to those companies to give them the data without informing you. Gross violation of safe harbor. This is why it went out the door. Okay.
I think I also heard that. That on 29th of March, the law is about to change.
Yeah. So the US is having to change this conversation because you have local legislation in different countries that do not necessarily enforce the same standards of privacy or even the same standards of integrity across the globe. It is driven by country-specific legislation. Okay. Next one. Who understands e-discovery? Anyone heard the concept of e-discovery? What is e-discovery?
Process whenever a company in a court case can ask the insurance company to dig up all the documents about that particular insured or policy holder.
Provided they are tamper-proof.
Oh, yeah. It's not just the insurance company. Okay, e-discovery in many countries is a problem. A court order, any court in US, UK, Europe, can actually give an instruction to a company to provide all data related to a legal matter, irrespective of where that data exists in the world.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, this is where companies are having fun because they don't know where their data is. Right? By default, if you cannot provide that data to the court, okay, you are technically in contempt of court. In the US, you will be disbarred. If the following happens, and this is a very simple example. If you take a US attorney, if a US attorney gets an instruction to provide electronic data to a court in the US, and he fails to provide some piece of electronic data, let's take an email, and the prosecution can generate or produce that email to the court, they can basically hold them in contempt of court. Now, under the US system, they are guilty. You see the problem here? Because we are not able to control the localization of data, it becomes, you almost start to breaking the law by default in many areas. E-discovery has got a series of problems in this discussion. Data localization starts to break down these problems. In many countries.
Rui, we'll have to wind up actually here. Again, I hope you will learn a few things, and I will learn a lot from you guys as well. So thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for the panel as well.
Thank you so much. We thank you all for being a part of this enlightening cyber intelligent boardroom discussion. I think we can take questions offline. You can meet our panelists.